Her gaze locked onto mine unflinching, as she declared, "This is done." Her voice carried no trace of doubt, no flicker of remorse, just a stark, unyielding finality. So, I gathered my belongings and walked away. A couple of weeks later, I found myself sharing a home with her cousin. Now my phone buzzes daily with her calls, but I let them go unanswered. It wasn't a dramatic scene, no shouting, no shattered dishes, no tears staining the floor. That's what stings the most. It happened on a mundane Tuesday morning, a day that should have slipped by unnoticed. We sat at the kitchen table, her fingers curled around a coffee mug, her eyes glued to her phone as if the world was normal. Then, without lifting her head, she said, "This is done." I froze, my breath catching. What? She finally met my eyes, her expression devoid of warmth, her tone steady as stone. "I'm done with this. It's not working. You need to leave." That was it. No reasoning, no discussion, just a sentence that felt like a gavel striking. Her calm, almost indifferent delivery told me she'd already left me behind in her mind, long before those words escaped her lips. I could have fought back, pleaded for answers, but why? To beg someone to keep me when they'd already deemed me unworthy? Instead, I walked to the bedroom, pulled a suitcase from the closet, and began packing. My hands moved on autopilot, while my thoughts spiraled, grappling with what came next. I had no place lined up, my friends lived in cramped apartments, and my parents were a 2-hour drive away. Then her cousin, Jenna, crossed my mind. Jenna and I weren't particularly close, just acquaintances from family gatherings where her quiet kindness stood out. She had a way of listening, really listening, that made you feel at ease without effort. I didn't expect much when I dialed her number, my voice hesitant as I said, "I know this is sudden, but could I crash at your place for a bit?" Her response was immediate, warm. "Come over. Stay as long as you need." That evening, I arrived at her doorstep, suitcase in tow, feeling like a stray. She greeted me with a smile that felt like a lifeline and said, "You're welcome here." Then softly, almost as an afterthought, she added, "She's out of her mind for letting you go." At first, I treated her place like a temporary stop, a couch to borrow until I could sort out my life. But Jenna wouldn't hear of it. She insisted I take the guest room. We slipped into a natural rhythm. She'd brew coffee each morning, leaving a mug for me on the counter. I'd whip up dinner a few nights a week. Our evenings filled with easy conversations about work, favorite films, or music we loved. Slowly, those talks grew deeper. One night, we lingered on the couch until nearly 2 in the morning, a half-empty bottle of wine between us. We shared stories of our childhoods, our failed romances, our quiet regrets. At one point, her eyes met mine, steady and sincere as she said, "You deserve so much more than the way she treated you." Her words hit hard, not because they were harsh, but because they echoed a truth I'd been too afraid to acknowledge. About a week after I settled in, my phone lit up with my ex's name. I stared at the screen, torn, before letting it ring out. A text followed shortly after. "We should talk." I ignored it. The next day, another call came. This time, I answered, my voice clipped. "What's this about?" Her tone shifted, sharp and accusing. "I heard you're staying with Jenna." "Yeah, I am," I replied. "So what?" Her voice tightened. "I don't think that's okay." I couldn't hold back a bitter laugh. "You ended us. You told me to leave. Why does it matter to you?" Silence stretched on the line before she mumbled, "It's just not right," and hung up. From then on, her calls became a daily ritual. Some were laced with anger. "You're messing up everything." Others dripped with nostalgia, like when she texted, "Do you remember our trip to the beach last summer?" It wasn't about love or reconciliation. It was about power. She couldn't stand that I was moving forward, especially with someone tied to her family. Meanwhile, my bond with Jenna deepened. She was witty, compassionate, and saw me in a way my ex never did. 2 weeks in, we went out for dinner. Not a date, not officially, but there was a spark, a subtle shift I hadn't noticed before. Back at her place, we stood in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, talking late into the night. She looked at me, her voice soft but deliberate, and said, "I like you being here. I hope you stick around for a while." The way her eyes held mine told me she meant more than just a roommate. 3 days later, my ex appeared at Jenna's door. We were halfway through a movie when a sharp knock interrupted us. I opened the door to find her standing there, arms folded, eyes burning with something between anger and desperation. "Can we talk?" she demanded. I stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind me. "Talk about what?" "This thing with Jenna," she said, her voice low but biting. "It's not right." I laughed, not out of amusement but disbelief. "You ended things. You told me to get out. You don't get to decide where I go or who I'm with." Her jaw clenched, and for a moment, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Regret, maybe, or the realization she'd lost control. "She's my family," she said, as if that explained everything. "And you thought discarding me wouldn't change anything?" I shot back. She fell silent, and I knew then she'd underestimated the weight of her choice. She left without another word, but the calls kept coming, her name flashing on my screen daily. I stopped picking up. Jenna told me I didn't owe her anything, not even an explanation, and she was right. My life wasn't hers to steer anymore. Over time, Jenna and I became more than just two people sharing a space. We weren't leaping into anything reckless, but there was a quiet trust, a warmth that felt unshakable. If you'd told me a month ago I'd be living with my ex's cousin, I'd have thought you were joking. Yet here I am, happier than I've been in years, with someone who truly sees me. My ex keeps calling, grappling with the fact that I've moved on. The truth is, it wasn't effortless. It was a choice I had to make. She said we were done, and I took her at her word. Now, I'm with someone who makes every day feel vibrant, while she's the one clinging to a past she chose to end.